Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Happy Monday, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today's episode.
It feels like it's been a while, hasn't it? It feels like it's been a long.
It's been a while. It's been a while for us, but maybe not them. I think they listen every week. Yeah. It's been a while for us. We pre-record, and sometimes we have to pre-record more than one episode at a time, of course. And anyway, we're in a time warp with you all.
Yeah, we had a big snowstorm here last week, so that was good that we did that.
Yeah, it was very good that we pre-record and have at least one extra one around, ready to go. Yeah. Anyway, we're here. We are actually here to talk about the movement of time, sort of. This week's episode was inspired by what we can really only call Cindy's really terrible, really bad week. I had a really, really bad week. And it made me think about, as a lot of things do, it made me think about how I felt, how children must feel when things go awry. So I wanted to talk about having a bad week. Sometimes we look at children's behavior and they're having a bad week. We all do. It's part of human nature. Whatever, something happened at home or with you or whatever, and they're just having a bad week. So here was Cindy's, really, because I know you're all sitting there now, maybe saying, I wonder what happened to Cindy. So here's just a quick synopsis of my week. Let's see. I have an unusable oven stove because the gas flames were not right. And so I called somebody who had to then call another stove person who came, and then my husband took off from work that day because they were coming and I had online work to do. So they came and they determined that in fact, it is not the appliance itself. There must be something going on behind my kitchen wall. So Monday, the Monday after we record this, people are coming to take down my kitchen wall. In the middle of all that, my son called with a car breakdown issue and trying to get an appointment now for anybody to look at your car because of everyone being short-staffed, just like those of us in education, is like a nightmare. So I've got the person in the kitchen with the stove. I've got the kid on the text and the phone with the I can't get an appointment. What do I do? How do I get this thing towed? I've got, let's see, what else went on? There were more. Oh, I've got, of course, my work, and people just freaked out out there in the world of education. I had other nonsense in the background from things that I participate in. So there was just a lot going on. And I realized at some point that I was overwhelmed, overwrought, couldn't think clearly, whirling in my own head. Blood pressure was probably too high, and that I kind of just needed a break from all of it. And it was just feeling so heavy and so big. And, I think about kids, they get up, they have a rough morning, they have some sort of run-in with a sibling or a parent because they're having a rough morning. Then they're dragged out the house to go whatever early childhood program they have, and that rough morning carries over. So their behavior reflects the fact that they had a rough morning at home. So now they're having a rough day in their program too. And then they go home and things aren't great either, and it begins to carry over into the next day. It just kind of reminded me of what I was going through. And I think sometimes when we go through experiences that are feeling heavy and emotional and all that stuff, it could be a nice reminder of how sometimes the kids feel.
Yeah. I think it also shows you can be having a really good day and one thing could happen to totally throw the whole thing off, right? And now all of a sudden you're in a bad mood or emotional or anxious or whatever it is that happened. One thing could throw it off, and we're older and we know how to cope. Some of us know how to cope. I don't always, but
I didn't for about 20 minutes there.
Yeah. But these are children who haven't learned how to cope yet. So then, and then they're also as an adult, we have a little bit more control over what we can and cannot do at any given moment. And these children don't, they had a bad morning. No, you're still going to your school or your program. Whereas like we as an adults be like, you know what, I'm going to stop for some coffee first before going to work, because I need that right now. They don't have that control over things, so.
But, there are things that, for them. I realized at some point in the week, there were things that I needed. And I think we should think about this, in relation to the children. There were things that I needed to break the spell. There was definitely, you ever feel like there's like a black cloud or a spell happening and everything you touch just turns to nonsense. Every time I picked up a pen, I dropped it. Every time.
Yes.
Every time I went to do something, like I went to put a snack table together and a piece broke. Like I felt like everything I touched last week was going south. It was just it was just going no good. So I realized at some point that this is becoming like a pattern of some kind, and my thoughts were out of control about how terrible this all was. Though I fully recognize that in the scope of people having problems, this was some very minor stuff. Again, relating that to children, what looks like really minor to you can really be impacting the emotions of somebody else. And that's true of the children too. So I realized at some point, I just need to break what's happening here. I need to break the spell. I needed to get out of the house. I needed to go do something fun. I needed to talk to people, reach out to people. Allison commented to me when I said, "Oh, I had a terrible week." She said, "I wondered what was going on. I hadn't heard from you." Because you become very insular, right? We become very insular. Kids do that too. You've seen children withdraw when they're having a hard time. Some children become very vocal and loud and whiny and cry, but other children withdraw. And I tend to do that. I tend to just withdraw. I
tend to get really quiet. Like for me this week, I didn't really have the greatest of weeks either. I didn't have as much going on as Cindy did. Yeah. But for me, I had a lot of anxiety this week, so, and when I do have that, I tend to get quieter and not say anything and just not share it. But then I realize like when I do share it, I feel so much better, because then you're not as alone. So I feel like one of my things, and even for kids or maybe for you, Cindy, it's like, just call a friend and you'll be fine because your friends are not going to judge you that way, but like, I think that's very telling that we as adults are getting quiet. So like, there's kids that are going to be just sitting in the corner, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, to go over to them, and I know you all do. I know that good professionals go over to that child who's like sitting in that corner and says that you say to that child, "What's going on? Is there anything wrong? Can I help you?" And I think that that's part of what we need to do. I think, if someone contacted me or me just sort of going through the whole list of things, some of the things anyway that were happening last week, it's easier for me as an adult to go, okay, here is what is impacting my behavior or how I feel. Young kids can't really do that. Here is what is impacting my behavior or how I feel.
Yeah, they don't know yet. Yeah.
And sometimes we need to just help them break the spell. A breath of fresh air. Nature is an amazing thing. I realized I needed to get out of here. I needed to get some fresh air, and I needed to do something that I found to be connecting to other people, something fun. We actually decided on Thursday evening, after my husband and I were done working, we decided to take the ride to my son, one of my sons, and have dinner with him. We went out to a really nice restaurant for dinner.
This is scenery.
Change of scenery.
Big thing.
Yep, we went change of scenery. We had a nice dinner out with him. We had good conversation with him. And I could actually feel that sort of calming me down. And I think that has to do with not only getting out and breaking the routine, but also the connection.
Yeah.
Connection is everything. So here I have this connection where I could go and talk about things unrelated to my problem. I think sometimes we harp on what's wrong.
Right, because once you're in it, it just keeps spiraling around in your head. You have to get out and start talking about other things.
Yeah. So the fact that we were with somebody else who could, take me out of that, We talked about other things. We laughed. We had a good dinner. The restaurant was like a walk away from where my son lives. He lives in a walking town. So we were able to just kind of walk back in the crisp, cold air.
Exercise and activity will do
Exercise and
wonders for
activity
people.
will do it, right?
Yep.
And, you know, and you have to realize that kids, you know, they're highly emotional. Their emotions may be more on display than ours, but often they need the same things. They need us to go and, you know, give them some air to breathe, some nature, maybe a little exercise if they'll do it, a connection with multiple people, not just me. Sometimes I realize when I taught, I would go over to a child and say something like, you know, what's wrong? Are you okay? You seem very quiet, or are you sad? You look a little sad. And they didn't want to talk to me. But if one of their classmates went over, all of a sudden I would see them interact a little.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think, like, sometimes I've seen with some children, they don't want to tell you what's wrong, but them just knowing that you're there, because I'd be like, okay, you don't have to talk right now, but I'm here if you need me.
Mm-hmm.
And they might never come over to you and say what's going on, but I feel like there's a comfort in them knowing, like, okay, she's there if I need her, you know, like sometimes that'll turn it around a little bit, make them feel a little more at ease, I guess. Or
I was in a classroom one time that had this really cool thing, just came to mind. They had this really cool thing. They had these signs sort of on popsicle. I think it was popsicle sticks. I'm trying to remember now because this was a while ago. It's on popsicle sticks, and they had multiple of every sign. And there were signs that had different feelings and emotions. And they said things like, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm worried, I'm scared, I'm frustrated. And at any point in the day, the kids could go over and take the one that applied to them. Bless you, Allison just sneezed.
Sorry. I was trying to hold it in. I couldn't.
I don't know if that was a podcast first. Funny. Okay. So I don't know. At some point, anyway, they could go over and they could take a sign at any point in the day. They could take a sign and just kind of take it and even just put it on the table in front of them while they were doing what they were doing, or put it wherever they were playing. Right. And they were able to just go over and get it. But one of the signs did say, I'm having a bad day. And the kids could go over and grab a sign that said, I forget if it said a tough day or a bad day.
Yeah.
I'm having a tough time. I don't remember. But it was really just sort of like this sad looking face on it, this sad looking cartoon with sort of chaotic. I forget what it looked like, folks. I wish I could remember. I have like a vague image of it, but it did say something like, I'm having a tough day. And they could go over and grab that and just put it in front of them. But I'll share this with you. The teachers were really good at it. They did not go over and go, oh my gosh, you're having a tough day. What do you want to do? Instead, they would go over and sit down and just start to play with the child. Instead, they would say something maybe to another child like, I think, you know, Jason's having a tough day. Is there something we can do to make him feel better? It wasn't talk to me, tell me your emotions. It was, let's try to make this child who grabs this sign feel better. And what the kids learned was, when they saw that sign, when somebody was holding that sign, is that what we try to do is help that person to feel better. I saw kids in that class.
And this is amazing.
It was amazing. Kids, like, I literally saw kids in that class go over. I don't know if the word literally was right there, by the way. If anyone is like skeeved right now because I used that word, I know literally is a thing for people. I actually went over and I saw kids take that sign and just put it in front of them or hold it in their lap. And another child would just get up and go get something like Legos or something and just bring it over and put it in front of that child.
Sweet. It teaches them so much. It teaches them that, like, they can ask for help if they need it, but it also teaches the other kids, like, oh, here's how I can help people. And it's not always talking, because not everybody's a talker. You know, and sometimes talking makes people more anxious or more upset. So, like, just sitting there saying, hey, you can help them just by playing with them or just by sitting next to them.
Right. Also, that's real empathy, you know. It isn't empathy to go over and go, you'll be okay. I mean, we do that just so that they know we're there to help them. But real empathy is, I know this is tough.
Yeah.
Right. And so if a child goes over to another child and just kind of plops Legos in front of them, it's sort of a scene of, I know this is tough. Here's something else to think about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I hope that if you have a system like that already in your classroom or at home or whatever, that where children can just silently indicate that they're struggling more than the typical, I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm frustrated. If they can,
like more of a range of emotions,
or just to say, I'm having a tough day,
I'm
and
having
then
a bad day.
we teach other people to just do something kind for them. That would be lovely. And I think you're right. I think it does teach a longer term lesson to everybody. I think it teaches the child who's having a tough day to accept the kindness of others.
Yeah.
And I think it teaches those other people that sometimes it isn't about, having to just talk about everything that's bothering you. Sometimes it's about reaching out in other ways to people to say, we're here and we care. Putting Legos in front of you is, we're here and we care.
Yeah. I think it also teaches that it's okay to have a bad day. And it's okay to admit that you're having a bad day, because I think what happens so often is, even as an adult, it's like you're not allowed to have a bad day. You're not allowed to act this way. You're not allowed to feel this way. And it's like, no, I'm just having a bad day. I just need this day to be over. You know what I mean? I need like whatever it might be. And I think if we teach kids at a young age, it's okay to feel that way, then as adults, you won't spiral out of control just because you're having a bad day, because now you realize, okay, I'm going to have those once in a while.
Also, it doesn't have to be just one day. One day can bleed into the next. One
That's true.
One bad day. Sometimes we are also like, well, especially because we work with young children, I think that this is true, that we look and we go, well, tomorrow's a new day. We're going to start fresh tomorrow. But come on, people, how many times has one day's incidents led into another? The guy for the stove comes today, they're coming back tomorrow. How many times?
I feel like sometimes once at least for me, because I have a lot of anxiety. So once I'm in the pattern of having anxiety, it's almost impossible to get out of it until there is some sort of break in the system, so like for me, like the weekend's a good break. I might be able to go back Monday and be like, okay, I'm all right now. But for this whole week, once it started, it just didn't stop.
And then the first thing will go wrong, and you'll be like, oh crud, I'm really not all right yet. And kids do that too. So let's say they have that day where they struggled in the morning. So that caused them to behave a certain way. And so now they're struggling in their program, and they go home and it's still not great. But they wake up the next day because, I don't know, they just wake up kind of renewed, and they start off their day, and then something happens again. Well, now it's bleeding from day to day.
You're not back to 100%. So you're a little bit better. You might be at like 60%. And now this one thing got you back down to 0, and it takes a while to bounce back.
And they're human, and we should always remember that. But we need to remember that sometimes it's just a matter of being willing to help break the spell, distract you. I remember when I worked with really young kids, like the toddlers and that sort of, or sometimes, you would go into the other rooms where they're even younger. And when the children were crying or having separation anxiety or what was going on, my first go-to, and I know this is true for many of you, my first go-to was to go directly to a window so that they could look outside. Because there's something magic about nature, right? I'm going to hold you and I'll comfort you, and we're going to go look out that window.
Yeah.
Sometimes I remember if we had enough staff, one of us would say, I'm just going to take them on a walk. Breaks the spell. I'm going to take them on a walk. I'm going to take them outside. Let's go visit Cindy in the office. Let's go, take them out, take that break, take the spell. But I know it's harder now. It's harder now because everybody's short-staffed and you can't leave.
And also COVID. But
it's harder. It's harder, but in some way in your classroom have a system where you can help children to see something else, think about something else, and come out of that emotional whirl that's going on in their minds and their bodies.
Yes. Because I do that not only for myself, but for the kids. For myself, I do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, where it's like 5 things that you see. So like sometimes when I'm with the kids, I'd be like, oh, let's look out the window. What do we see? So then now they're thinking like, what do I see? Instead of thinking about whatever it is that's bothering them. If you can't see anything, then it's like, let's smell.
What do you
Let's see what we
smell?
smell.
Yeah.
What do we hear? What do we like, go through all that stuff? Cause then it makes your brain go somewhere else for a little while, and that might just be enough time to kind of break that spell, that pattern.
In the middle of the week, as I was sitting with all this whirling around me, I did close my eyes and think about what are 4 things I hear, because it grounds you to use your senses that way. If you close, if you've never done it, I highly encourage it. You think to yourself, like you close your eyes, just listen, identify 3 to 4 things that you hear, and then open your eyes, and 3 to 4 things that you immediately see, focus on those. Yeah. Engaging your senses that way does calm the system. Yeah. Calms your system.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a lot of feedback, 5, and we decided we got a lot of feedback about the episode about what do you call the people raising the children. That was the parents, folks, guardians, and kin episode or something like that. We got so much feedback about that. So we've selected some that we're going to share with you. Who gave us permission to share what they call the people raising the children. And so this is maybe more like a feedback 8 minutes than 5 minutes, because we have several.
By the time you add our commentary in, it might be 10 minutes, because you know how we like to talk.
Why we do this. All right. So Alison has it in front of her. And
I do. So
Go
ahead,
bear
with me. All right. So we got a feedback from Jenny from Laporte or Laporte, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Minnesota. And she said, this past holiday season, we had a free gift of giving store for students to purchase gifts for the important adults in their lives. Some chose parents, aunts, grandparents, or others have chosen past teachers, a daycare provider, or even a guy we work on trucks in his garage. So leaving it wide open was our answer to skipping parent gifts.
I really like that.
Because then the child gets to choose who's important in their life. Like the one child chose like the mechanic in the garage, which is important, and I just think it's so sweet to kind of spread the love around to all these. Also
that the child gets to choose who's important to them. How lovely.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Really nice.
That was Jenny. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Jenny. It was good. All right, scrolling down more, we have Felicia, who said, I think a good word to use as an alternate to parent and guardian would be caretaker. I think many different titles can fall under the umbrella of a caretaker, including those who may or may not be related to the child. I recently took a class, and in one of my papers, my professor corrected me when I used the term parent and corrected me with caretaker. I never thought about the issue with labeling until that moment.
So Felicia, I teach college classes, and I was like, I'm always flagging parents and putting something like families and guardians, or families or guardians.
Yeah.
But I like that even better. I might use that.
So now you're going to use that, right?
I might use that. Thank you, Felicia.
Caretaker. I think she's right. I mean, because we did talk in the episode about children who may be orphans, right? So even saying families would not be necessarily correct in their world, but caretaker would be. There's somebody there taking care of them. So that's a really good one.
Guardian is still good. Guardian is still good.
Guardian is still good.
But I feel like caretaker is warmer than guardian. Guardian is like
so it's
I'm
like
going to stand at the gate. Guardian is like, I'm going to stand at the gate and I'm not letting anybody in here. But caretaker is like, I'm here to nurture you. I like it better.
I like that, because I feel you're right. Guardian's more like a legal term. It seems so cold.
It is a legal term, isn't it?
It's a legal term. I think it is. Yeah. So you're right. We should use caretaker. It does seem warm and fuzzy here. Okay.
What else you got?
And we have Nicole from the UK.
Hey, Nicole.
We're so excited that we got. I think she's our first
UK. Is she our first UK?
Feedback contact. I think
we were super excited. Okay.
Yeah.
That was just us though. What did she say?
She wrote, hello, just listen to your last episode. In the UK, we often refer in our documentation to parents and carers hope that helps.
Yes,
So
it does.
yeah, so adding in that cares at the end after parents, I think is nice.
It's sort of along the lines of caretaker, but I
Yeah.
kind of like carers better. So thank you, Nicole from the UK.
I like that. Cares.
Right?
Yeah.
Carers.
That's nice.
All right. We were so pleased that that episode brought feedback. It's funny, Allison and I will
Yeah.
talk about things that we think are controversial, and then we're like waiting for it and nothing.
We're waiting
And then
for it.
we'll
Nothing
say like,
happens.
what do you call them? And we get a, so thank you.
Yeah.
And those were, you know, some of the representation of what people are calling. And if you have something else, please continue to
No,
write.
please continue to
Because
write.
we'll
talk
continue to
about it.
share. We'll continue to share
Yeah.
some of them. We also have a feedback 5 next time that you're not going to want to miss about our episode that we were talking about gossip. So be sure to tune in next time. Stay
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
feedback because I think you won't want to miss that conversation.
Yeah.
And
it's a
now
good
somebody
one.
out there is like, wait, was that mine? You will see on the next episode. Thanks, preschool peeps. We'll catch you next time.
Bye, peeps.